to you from Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, New York. We're all over the place here. Back with our newly regularly scheduled Friday MLB pod. Super excited to get into it here with Mike, aka Proptology, and my main man Dave. But as always, today's podcast is presented by Props.cash. We 100% cannot do what we do without Props.cash. So if you think you're ready to level up your prop betting game, use code PTM at sign up to get 25% off your first month. What's up, boys?
Going on?
Life is good. Tom and I are wearing Mets hats, so we've took them out of the trash. They both were in the trash about a week ago.
Yeah, they scored double digits last night, and all of a sudden you guys find all your gear.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
Hey, trust me, I didn't wear pirate stuff for years, so I get it.
Yeah. No, it's a love-hate relationship. You understand?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But when those teams are winning, you gotta celebrate. So
I've always said the Pirates are different, man. I'm not a fair weather fan, but like when ownership just shows that they're not even trying, it's kind of like going back to an ex-girlfriend over and over and over.
Yeah. That's a fair point. The Mets will always spend money. It's just how well they spend the money, right? Usually they blow money on guys like Mo Vaughn or whoever. All right. So before we dive into today's picks, I think we got 5 picks to give out, four of which are player props, one's a game prop. Before we dive into them, why don't you just give us your kind of, where are we at? Like 2 weeks into the season, what your assessment is of how MLB is going, what you're seeing in terms of trends, like how's it going?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the glaring thing is the pitching injuries, which is going to have an effect all season long, and there's been debates about what's causing that, if it's this or that. I'm sure it's not one thing. People have talked about it. Obviously, there's the pitch clock. And, a few years ago, Tyler Glasnow had mentioned in an interview how taking away, sticky stuff was going to affect pitchers, not the crazy spider tack and stuff like that, but even the resin or whatever they were using, how it made them have to grip the ball deeper in their hand, how he felt different muscles that were sore the next day, kind of like when you golf for the first time and use muscles you haven't used in a while. Yeah. He said he felt that. So, these pitchers are engaging muscles that they haven't used before. Their rest time is lower. So, who knows if that's really, I'm not a doctor, but it's definitely affecting the game. Because of that, you're getting some pitchers who usually wouldn't see starts this early. But really, overall, I think it's a little too early to tell. A lot of pitchers, if you look at these matchups, it's really been a two-faced, a tale of two stories, two sides of the coin, if you will, where, a guy goes out and has a great 5 innings with 0 earned runs and then comes back and gets blown up for 6, So it's kind of hard to tell what's real and what's fake on some of these guys so far. Because you'll hear a lot about spring training. These guys blow it up in spring training, but then as soon as the season starts and the real games are on, they don't produce like you thought they would have. But there is exciting parts of the game right now. For instance, all the rookies that are making noise. Obviously, Langford was talked about a lot. You're going to hear about Jackson Holiday, and his start in the majors is going to be huge. But Colton Cowser, man, he's crushing it for Baltimore, too. I think he's going to force them to make a spot on their roster. That young team is just looking great. So, it's exciting to see these young guys step up so early in the season.
You think I had a question to Dave real quick about the pitching, going back to the pitching for a second. Do you think it something has to do with like the advances in the technology and the ability to like calculate spin rates and things like that now they have data to go off of, and the guys are just focusing more and more on like spinning the ball and velocity and ways that they didn't used to have to track these, that now they do, and now they're like trying to just go crazy with spins and whatnot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. I mean, I think you definitely see more pitchers, constantly every offseason. You hear this guy's trying to add a curveball, this guy's trying to add this. So whenever you're engaging different muscles, holding the ball differently, there's, so much that can go wrong there, I would say.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, given how much advancement there's been in terms of, the training and the nutrition and everything, that the rate of injury is just continue to go up. So, I think guys were tougher back in the day too. That might be part of it. So,
Yeah, you don't see guys hitting birds with fastballs anymore. Like,
oh, that's the best clip ever, Randy Johnson. All right, so let's get into some picks, and we're gonna start with your hometown team there, the Pirates. Pirates are 9-4, so hence the optimism we were talking about earlier. They're going up against, I think, the Phillies today in Philadelphia. Phillies are favored in this game, -165 on the money line. And we got Falter versus Sanchez. So that game is at 6:40 tonight. So I'm sure you'll be watching that one. What do you like in this one from a player prop standpoint?
Yeah, so I kind of like some hits to be a lot of hits in this game, specifically on the Pirates side. But you have two lefties facing off against each other. We can see some scoring. The way I'm playing this here is Brian Reynolds and Edward Olivares to record a hit on FanDuel. You put those together, it's -106. And we'll start with Brian Reynolds there. Reynolds has hit in 88% of his away games this season, which obviously isn't a huge sample size, but it starts to tell you a story. And, he's done well against lefties. So the wind's also blowing out today in Citizens Bank. So, Ballpark Pal has one of the better hit percentages of the night there in that location. And Suarez, the lefty, has given up 6 and 5 runs this season and has a 0.345 average versus righties. And the bullpen over the last 2 games has given up 4 and 5 hits. And then if you move over to Edward Olivares, you'll see this guy's on fire. He has started the season off as hot as anybody, maybe. He's actually hit in 89% of all games so far this season. So not just away.
Wow.
He's finding a way to get the ball. He's actually, I believe Sunday when I was at the game, he had the game-winning hit. So the kid is just on fire to start the season. I like those two together with this, two righty versus lefty pitcher matchup there.
Yeah, that seems really good. And you said put those together for what, -106?
-106 on FanDuel. Yep.
Very nice. And Olivares seems like he's trending upwards. He's had 2 hits in his last 3 games, and at -250, that seems like really good value for just 1 hit. So I love that play. Should be nice.
Yep. I like a lot of hits in that game, but those two, there's even looking at that too on, I think, DraftKings, you can take a team to have more hits than the other team. And the Pirates were actually like +130 or 135 there. That was kind of interesting to me too.
Oh, is that a new prop? I've never seen that one before. I like that.
Yeah, I think it might only be on DraftKings, but don't quote me on that. But you can take, team to have that record the most hits, that one of those head-to-head plays. And, again, against the lefty, Christopher Sanchez, I think the Pirates could get it done tonight.
Yeah, that actually is like a really fun one to go, because you're never really out of it. So
yeah,
that's cool. All right, very good. So let's move from your team to our team. We got the Royals at the Mets. Royals are 9-4. Mets are 5-7. Mets started out in 0-5 hole, have climbed out of it, just won the series against the Braves. Mets are actually favored in this game, -140 at home. It is a rainy day in New York, so we'll see if the game happens. But we got Waka, former Met, going up against Severino, who in my mind is still a Yankee, but we'll take him on the Mets, I guess. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, so I want to say that the rain is supposed to stop. I have to double check again here, but I believe the rain's supposed to stop before game time. So I do like Pete Alonso over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs either way. And honestly, if it wasn't for the question mark in the weather, I'd be putting down money on Pete Alonso to hit a home run.
Wow.
I might still sprinkle some depending on how the weather changes. But, Pete over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, that's -120 on ESPN for the best value. He's 2 for 3 versus Waka with a home run and 3 RBIs. So that right there covers it. He smacks a homer and we win. Mets bats went off last night, obviously, for 16. And I think they carry that a bit into tonight's game. to help Alonso bat someone in or to help Alonso get around the bases. Either way, I think he gets there. He's hit in four of six home games this season. So if you filter that to the home games, you'll see most of those hits there he's had this season are at home. And he actually covered in 2 out of 3 last year, first Kansas City. So he has success against that team. When you look at the versus Kansas City last year, it plays a little bit into bullpen play. Maybe he gets a hit and, he can get a hit early on versus Waka, and then we could cover with a sac fly later on in the game versus the bullpen. So either way, I like Pete Alonso to get there tonight.
Yeah, I like that a lot. The only weird trend that I see is like he seems to be better later in the series, right? If you look at that Milwaukee series, he put up nothing in the first game, then 4-2. Same thing with Detroit. And then even in this Atlanta series, he didn't do a whole lot against Cincinnati overall, but in the Atlanta series, he had one HRR in the first game and 6-4 in the back too. So is that just randomness, or is there something to that?
I mean, that's one of those things in baseball. I think you have to dive a little deeper. And I after we get off here, I'm going to check myself. But because so much comes into play there. Was the pitcher in that game righty or lefty? Was it
True.
Was it the ace or was it the fifth guy in the rotation? Did they just travel across the country? All that comes into play with those. So, baseball versus basketball is so different in that with props that there's so many X factors that play into, those games.
Yeah, that's why we have you, Mike. That's why Tom and I stay with basketball. We're not smart enough for for all this analytics.
We like our fields to stay the same size, right? And
yeah. But yes, you're not going to hear us argue against Alonso. He's hot right now, and I think playing at home will be really, really good. So
let's go. I love it.
Let's go. Hopefully the rain stops and he belts one out and we cash. Let's move on to another young star in the league. We're talking about the Reds at the White Sox. Cincinnati is 6-6 on the season. The White Sox are 2-10, so they're one of the poorer teams in the league. Cincy is -175 in this game as a favorite, as a road favorite. So that's pretty juicy odds there. Who do we got here? Abbott and Flexen. And what do you like here? Who are we playing with?
Yeah, so I like the Reds obviously to beat up on the White Sox. The White Sox aren't very good, and Flexen, is getting just beat up this year so far, and it's been kind of consistent. He has given up 6 hits in both starts, along with 3 and 4 earned runs. So it's not one of those pitchers where it's been a tale of two stories to start the season off. He's getting beat up. And if it wasn't for Andrew Abbott, and I'm not sure how he's going to pitch, I would take it a different way. The way I do like to play this is Ellie is in that middle of the lineup. So we're going Ellie again, just like Pete, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I believe the best value on that right now is -135 on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, Ellie is hitting 7 of the last 10 this season. He's hitting 2 out of 3 away games this season. So if you move, he's also hitting 70% of his last 10 away games when you look back into the end of last season. So on top of that, right now he's batting .321 average, .714 slug with 6 RBIs and 9 runs on only 28 at bats versus righties. When you add all that up and consider that Flexen, isn't pitching very well, I think Ellie could crush this number.
Yeah, seems nice. I mean, this kid's a lot of fun to watch. I really like his style. I guess, would you consider maybe if you don't want to pay the juice at -135, would you consider pairing the Reds money line, or maybe even the Reds plus a 1.5 or something like that with this to get plus money?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure what the odds would be there, but even Ellie to get a hit and Reds to win, sounds like a lock. I got to start thinking the way you guys think too. Like the alts and putting those things together seems so obvious. And I don't think of them all the time. So, you guys always catch on to those. But, Ellie to get a hit, at minus 224. When you put that together with the money line, I'm sure it's pretty good odds.
Yeah, I mean, you could see he's going back to last year. He's cleared 1 hit in 9 out of his last 10. And if we just look at this season, same deal. 9 out of that's even more. That's 11 out of 12 games this season. So he's pretty much automatic to get a hit, and going up against not a great pitcher. That seems like a lock. I guess the bigger question is, will the Reds win? But minus 175 odds seems pretty good.
minus 104 to put the Reds money line and a hit.
Nice. Yeah. That's probably, that's even better than the hits, runs, and RBIs. Honestly, I might be switching my play up there.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
or you know what? Like, what I like to do is, if you have 2 plays that are very similar and you're not sure which one to go with, put a half unit on each, right? Yeah. This way you kind of hedge a little bit in case the Reds lose or something. Then the other bet more or less pays for the first one. So that's really nice. And you mentioned the alt props. We've been doing that for the NBA all season, looking for players with super high hit rates and then putting them together into alt builders. We're going to be putting out an alt props cheat sheet for MLB once we get a little break in action for NBA and get some time to put that together. And also once we get, a month or so of MLB data. So look out for that. We'll have that up in the Discord within the next few weeks.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't mention too with prop stock cash, when you're looking at these plays, make sure you're checking the spray chart too. We've talked about it the past couple weeks, but those tools that prop stock cash has added are so valuable, especially when you can you can find other places where that pitcher's hit rates are for certain pitches and match it up with prop stock cash strike zone match up there, and you can really start to dial in, hey, this guy throws his changeup in the bottom right corner, his slider hits the inside versus lefties, and Ellie just crushes this, for example. So that's his main sweet spot, is sliders inside, changeups outside. There's a good chance he's gonna hit hit a barrel here tonight.
Yeah,
those new tools are so awesome.
Good advice. I love that. All right, so let's go to our last player prop of the night. We got the Padres at the Dodgers. Padres are 7-8. Dodgers are 10-5. So a little surprising. It's not a bad record, but they're off to maybe a slower start than people expected. LA's minus 195 in this game. Obviously, these two teams played to start the season over in the Korea series. We got King going up against Yamamoto. Yamamoto got beat up in that first start. He had 2 relatively good second and third start. And I think this is his 4th game of the season. Is that correct?
Yeah, 4th game. And, he's not even a relatively good starts. Like, he's been, almost lights out at time. Yeah. I think so. He did, like you said, he gave up 5 earned runs in just 1 inning versus the Padres. I don't count that as a game, even when you consider travel time and what time of day it was in Los Angeles when they were actually playing, and all the traveling that they've all done, including, I don't know if Yoshi's done more than anybody, but I like him to really bounce back here. He's given up 0 earned runs over 10 innings in his last 2 games, and versus the Cubs and the Cards. Padres are top 11 in strikeouts. So, if you look, his strikeouts have increased. He has put away stuff, which, not every pitcher has. They can get to strike 2, but they don't have that put away pitch that really gets them over the edge. Yoshi, I just believe, is going to get better and better as the year goes on. And I don't think that matchup is, what to expect that we saw overseas. The Dodgers have one of the lowest ballpark factors tonight too, in runs expected at minus 8%. So the way I'm playing this is Yoshi under 1.5 earned runs at plus 130. So, he's most likely going to stay around 5 innings or so. Not too much over that. They're probably going to play it safe with his pitch count to start the season as they increase there. Tyler Glasnow, for example, is stuck around 5 or 6 to start. And right there, Yoshi, 15 the last 2 games, his over under 15.5. So
Yeah.
you expect him to get right around that same amount. In 5 innings, I think he can shut the Padres down this time. So that plus 130 value is awesome to me.
Yeah, that seems at plus 130. That seemed like really great value, especially like you said. I was looking into his details. He's only pitched 80 pitches, max, right? So I think his first game, that first one against San Diego, he pitched like 40 something pitches, then 68 pitches in the second game, and only 80 pitches in the third game. So, like you said, he's limited. It doesn't seem like they're going to push him past 5 innings. So that's a for a guy who's got the strikeout capabilities that he has, going up against a strikeout heavy team, could be a fast 5 innings and out, and we cash that one. So I love that.
Yeah, and I think the ball is different overseas. So, and they've talked about how Yoshi did well in the World Classic with the MLB ball, but how the grips are different and everything. So I'm sure there's multiple reasons why the Dodgers want to keep him around that mark. But again, like you said, that keeps us at a safe window to stay under that 1.5.
Very nice. All right. Let's go to our last play. So I think those were all of our player props. The last play, we're going to go to the Rockies, Blue Jays. I've noticed a theme. Most of these games have a team that is not very good in them. So in this particular one, we got the Rockies, who are 3-10, going up against the Blue Jays, who are 6-7. So kind of underperforming there. But the Blue Jays are favored in this game at home, minus 240. We got Feltner at Gaussman. What do you like here?
Yeah, and I think part of that too is right now I believe if not all these games are crossplay. You have AL versus NL. So you're not always going to get those key matchups that you see in division and stuff like that. So,
True.
the reason I like this play here, under 4.5 in the first 5, best odds are minus 115 on ESPN. So you have Ryan Feltner versus Kevin Gaussman. Feltner, with these Rockies pitchers, whenever you have one that has better underlying numbers, you kind of have to look a little more under the hood because starts in Colorado are so much different. And that travel and elevation we've talked about is going to play a lot into this play. Feltner is top 85 percentile in K percentage and whiff percentage. Blue Jays are top 15 in strikeouts, and I believe both teams, but I know the Blue Jays, have 6+ batters with more strikeouts than hits versus righties. So that plays well into this play. The Rockies are not only traveling down from elevation, which historically the first game or the first 2 games after coming off the mountain really affects play. And not only that, but you consider they're going to Toronto. So they're going through customs. That's a whole travel scenario that they have to deal with. And honestly, they weren't hitting that well to end the Colorado series. A lot of times you'll see the Rockies, get to Colorado and get better as the series goes on. They kind of died off a bit. And, Gaussman, one of these pitchers I was talking about that's had a tale of two stories here. Gaussman went 1 earned run, but then had a bad outing versus the Yankees and gave up 5 earned runs. I expect him to regress back to the norm a bit here. And what I mean by that is April has been one of his lowest ERA months for the past 3 years. He usually starts the season off strong. I think that game in New York was just an outlier. I think he bounces back today and keeps the traveling Rockies at a low-scoring game. And Feltner gives up 1 to 2 runs versus the Blue Jays, who have been very streaky as far as their bats go. So I really love this play at under 4.5 for the first 5.
That's awesome. What is like a typical, if you would say, the average line that you'll see for an under first 5? Is it around what, 3.5?
No, usually? It's a lot of times it's 4.5.
Is it 4.5? Okay.
And then you'll see the odds adjust, but it really, unless you have 2 aces going up against each other, you'll see a 3.5. Games like the ones in Colorado, you'll see 5.5. Right. In the middle of summer, some of those games even hit 6.5, but average is going to be 4.5.
Okay. And so at minus 115, this is pretty good odds for an under.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that, sometimes those lines you see Gaussman give up that many runs to the Yankees, and just, the Rockies are a bad team, so they automatically expect, the Blue Jays to put up runs. So I think that line is a little off there.
Very nice. All right, so let me just recap real quick. We had Reynolds, Olivares, each to get a hit, minus 106. We had Pete Alonso for 1.5 HRR, minus 120. Ellie De La Cruz, also 1.5 HRR for minus 135. And also we were potentially talking about De La Cruz with 1 hit and Reds to win, which was around plus 100. We got Yamamoto under 1.5 earned runs, plus 130 in the Dodgers game. And then the play we just gave out right here, first 5 under for the Rockies Blue Jays, under 4.5 runs, minus 115. Does that cover it all?
That's it. Yep. I'd say sprinkle a little bit on Pete Alonso to score a home run too.
Let's go.
You don't have to tell us that.
All right. Nice work. Thanks again, Mike. I like this tradition we're starting coming on for the Friday MLB slate. It's awesome.
Yep.
So
I'll see you guys every Friday from the car as long as you'll have me.
Yep.
Hell yeah. So, all right. Great picks today. Nice pod. We're looking forward to the games tonight. I think we're going to get a few more NBA picks up in the Discord as well today. And let's all make some money tonight.
Have a good day, guys. We'll see you.
Take care.